Survivor is back, baby. That's how I want to start it. We are back. First time ever on this podcast. But I'd say what? This is season number 4 of the draft that we do?
Yeah, this is number 4. This is number 2 or 3 with Jonathan and Kristen.
This is number 3 now with both of them. So my name is P.D. Bachman, and I am joined by Chase Bridges.
That is me.
And Chase is somebody who is very successful at solving TV mysteries, yet he has never won the Survivor draft.
That's what's so infuriating is like I have watched almost every single season of Survivor and never once, even just casually watching it, I've never predicted who's going to win. I'm so bad at it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a 500,000 view Pretty Little Liars video, so you're doing great over there, but not so much in Survivor land.
Not in the things that really matter, like Survivor.
Yeah. And you mentioned Jonathan and Kristen, so we have 4 people in this draft, and the draft is going to be the lens in which we view and talk about Survivor in this podcast.
Because we're just fighting for that trophy, man, and I've yet to win one. I need one.
It's like way too important to me.
You've won twice.
Yeah, it felt amazing. I mean, like, I feel like I shouldn't care as much as I do, but I genuinely do care about winning this trophy.
Yeah, no, me too. I'm not a competitive person. I'm so used to losing most things, but when it comes to the Survivor draft, I care so much.
And you mentioned Jonathan and Kristen, who we brought in, 2 of our friends, and one of them is a fellow winner.
Yeah, Kristen won. Yeah.
Yeah, she selected Kinsey last season.
Yeah.
And as a Charlie owner, that made me furious. Should we say owner? Manager? I don't know.
You own these contestants?
Yeah, that sounded wrong when it
I
came out.
I like when Jeff Probst calls them characters, like they're not real people.
Okay, yeah.
He's like, yeah, we got some great characters this season, and it's like, hey, they all have like mortgages.
Yeah, he probably they are characters to him. They do not exist outside of the game. Not really. I think Jeff is a great guy. I just want to say that in case Jeff is listening.
Hey, Jeff, we're big fans. Because, Jeff, notorious for listening to Survivor fan podcasts.
Oh, yeah, that's all he does.
In the off-season.
I mentioned Jonathan, who is a fellow loser, along with you. Me and Kristen in the winner's circle. You and Jonathan, you have a lot to prove this year.
Yeah, and it's even more embarrassing because like Jonathan's not even like he hasn't seen every episode of Survivor. He just recently jumped on the train.
Yeah, I had watched like a handful of seasons when I was a child, and then I think I saw ads during football, and I was like, let's give this like Survivor 42 a shot.
Yeah.
And then after a couple years of me texting you and being like, hey, this new era of Survivor is like really wacky and you got to start watching it.
Yeah.
Eventually, like I know you wanted to keep your order.
Like
you were going to watch it chronologically, but I broke you down after a couple of years.
But, I mean, to be fair, I got to like season 37 or 38 before I finally watched a current season. But
and that's why you hate us so much.
Dang, man. But it's all right because I'm going to get you. This is my year. So let's talk about the premiere.
Yeah, let's get into it. All right, let's start at the marooning.
Yeah.
Isn't that what they call it?
I liked in Pearl Islands when they just like legitimately threw them on an island with like a bunch of people and they could like trade their clothes for objects.
Oh, that was sick. And they were like stealing from each other.
Yeah. Rupert was like trying to tell the ladies to flash people to get.
Hey, don't mention anything problematic from Rupert. I like to pretend he was a completely 100% straight up great guy.
He's one of the goats,
never made
brother.
a mistake in Survivor.
He's one of the goats.
Yep. So we have Jeff giving a Jeff speech about community and whatnot as Jeff is one to do at the start of each season now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really enjoy those. I like hearing from Jeff.
I love hearing from Jeff. I just think it was really funny because it was like he did a big rant about how important this community is, and it's like I don't know if that's the right word. Like this isn't a community.
No.
It's like in 20 minutes
really.
we're going to be kicking someone out of the community.
And in a few months, we're going to find out which members of the community hate each other's guts behind the scenes.
Yeah, dude. And then in a couple of years from now, we'll figure out which member of the community is a sex offender.
Oh. All right, you're listening to Making the Merge. Okay, so he singled a few people out.
Yeah.
And one of them was Andy, who then gave a speech about how, like, you know, growing up he was super unpopular. He had no friends. He
had 4 friends.
To like Grateful Dead.
He had 4 friends.
4. Excuse me. I was making things out to be a little worse than they were. He had a handful of friends.
Yeah.
This led him to do things like pretend to like Grateful Dead, even though he's scared of weed.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
Oh man, dude! Right off the bat, once he said that, I was like, "Yo, we got another Banu up in here."
Okay, I take issue with this. This is going to be our first disagreement of the season. I think the comparisons to like Andy and Banu, completely disrespectful to Banu.
Elaborate, because I believe people compare the two of them because they both have had emotional breakdowns very early in the show.
Yeah. The reason I think it's disrespectful is because Banu was like an Indian Michael Scott in every sense. And he, like, every scene, he stole the show.
That's true.
He went all out. His meltdowns, it wasn't like he breathed heavy and he's like, man, people don't like me. He was on his knees crying, praying to God. Like
that God would injure the other players.
Yeah, like Banu is like a Hall of Fame meltdown person.
Very true.
So that's why I think that you shouldn't compare him.
I think the more accurate comparison is with Applebee's lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's her name?
Except Liz, I think
Liz.
she thought too highly of herself. That's the difference between her and Andy.
Yeah, Andy, dude, when let's just keep going through the episode. I won't get us off track.
Yeah, won't get too bogged down in Andy talk. So we get to the challenge, and you know Jeff, he's really into mud lately. He loves to cover all 16 people in mud, so you can like barely tell who is who in the middle of the challenge. But I think he calls it like a baptism of sorts.
Yeah, it's like baptism by fire, but with mud.
Yeah, and I don't remember much from this challenge other than TK's sprint.
Dude, that guy might be the fastest man alive. That dude flew.
I mean, have you ever seen somebody move like that on Survivor?
No, definitely not on
Survivor,
dude. Dude, I remember there was one season where this one dude was like, he's like, yeah, I'm a parkour guy. And I had super high hopes that like he was going to do some really cool stuff. Never did. I think the most impressive person on Survivor, and I think statistically too, is Ozzy, because he won so many challenges. And even he doesn't come anywhere close to how fast that dude was.
And he was so fast, it overshadowed every other thing that happened in this challenge, because I couldn't tell you what happens other than yellow wins.
The group chat, I don't think we didn't even discuss anything other than, oh my God, did you see how fast that dude is?
He was flying, Lightning McQueen, Turbo the Snail, whatever you want to call him. That's what TK was. I don't think not only did he overshadow like the challenge, but like the rest of the episode kind of.
Yeah, we talked about TK a lot, which is, I mean, probably not the best idea, because I don't even think he got much confessional time.
No, he didn't, other than so he was selected to try to win supplies.
Yeah,
because they had the two losing tribes both had to nominate somebody.
Yeah,
and
he won.
It was TK and Aisha. Yeah, he did win. She tried to wrestle it away from him, but
he was like, we ain't doing that.
What did you think of that like Indiana Jones thing?
That was pretty cool. I think it was better than the Jelinski thing last year where they were just him and Q were just taking water back and forth across a beach.
Okay, so TK wins, and Aisha. One funny thing about this was that Rome said that it was a horrible decision for Aisha to volunteer herself because he said, I am not losing out on time to socialize because, this is a social game. And then he proceeded to do some extremely antisocial things back at the camp.
Yeah, but it paid off.
Did it?
I mean, he got an idol, right?
Yeah, he did get the idol, but so he went off and he was like, you got to be real careful about when you go look for an idol. And then immediately everybody was suspicious.
Yeah.
So he should have listened to himself in that moment. But the funniest thing was the water well.
Oh, dude, when he's just head first upside down in the water well, and then I really wanted them to walk up and catch him in the water well.
They kind of did. I mean, it was a couple seconds after, but they saw him like right next to it.
And then instead of like saying anything to anyone, he just took off running.
Which I thought about that a little bit, and at first I was like, that's a horrible move. But when I thought about it a little bit more, I was like, what do you say?
Because soaking wet.
Next to it.
Yeah,
There's only one thing that could have happened. He jumped in it.
He's just upside down. I really wanted them to catch him upside down in the well because I would have loved to see him try to explain what he was doing. Like, hey, Rome, what are you doing? I got thirsty.
I think that's the only thing he could say. Or like, I got really hot, or I got thirsty, and I jumped head first into the water.
One thing that Survivor contestants I don't think do very often is I would fake a medical emergency anytime I was about to get caught doing something I wasn't supposed to.
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, because, if I was upside down in the well and everybody walked up, I would just let go and fall into that well. I might drown, but I'm not going to get caught, dude.
Yeah. I want you to apply. I'm going to do the Jeff apply. Hey, you too could fake an injury out here on the island. Apply for Survivor.
Dude, so here's the thing. I was thinking about this while I was watching the episode. Is I was like, if I was ever on Survivor, I don't think I would be the best at challenges. I don't think I'd be the best at puzzles. I don't think I'd be the best at the social game. And then I was like, well, what would I even be good at? And I think I would be one of the most entertaining players of all time just from the sheer audacity of the things I'm willing to do.
Yeah, and I think you'd be great in confessionals too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that any of our friends, we would be a great asset to a season of Survivor. I don't think any of us would ever win Survivor.
I don't know if any of us would ever get the call. I don't think I would win. You know what? We got to stay on track with the episode.
Yeah, keep going.
I start talking about my strategy for a hypothetical season of Survivor.
We'll be here all night.
Yeah, so I got to keep it moving. So at the blue camp, Gabe is looking for wood with TK, and then he finds a beware advantage and doesn't tell TK, but then TK catches him trying to retrieve a key from a vine. And in that moment, Gabe decides he's going to lie about it and say, I just found this key here before I found the other thing, but I don't think TK bought it.
Good strategy, though. Like, if he would have fallen for it, which I think most people might have, because, I mean, I've always wondered that. Like, what happens if you stumble upon, like, especially the ones that have, like, three, like, you have to do this, this, and then this. What happens if you stumble upon the second one or the third one?
Yeah. Maybe the producers would step in.
Probably.
I don't know what would happen on that.
But that's weird, because it's like, you don't want, the producer can't just be like, oh, don't touch that.
Yeah. But maybe you just try to break it open.
I guess so. It would be interesting to see.
So the thing about Gabe is that he didn't want to work with TK. He was in a spot where he could have easily done that. So he could have easily worked with TK in that moment and been like, hey, I found this advantage. Like, we could start an alliance or whatever. But he was dead set on working with Sue the 59-year-old woman, I'm not sure what the thought process is there.
Yeah, dude, that was wild. It's like, do you want to work with the fastest man alive, or do you want to work with Sue? Which, hey, Sue seems to be a solid, pick, but I don't know if I'm picking the 60-year-old woman over the man who I just watched hit Mach speeds.
Exactly. And over under on weeks before she becomes Mama Sue.
Ooh, next week.
Okay, yeah, pretty quick. Coming off Mama J, because that's the last thing that these people saw, right? Was the full season of 45.
Yeah.
So you rarely ever just find an idol anymore in Survivor. It's like Gabe found it, and then he found another box where it's good for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And so he opts to just keep that one.
Yeah.
Which I think was pretty smart.
I think so too.
Why try to complete 3 challenges?
Yeah, after the second one, I think he was like, I can't keep doing this. Because he was digging himself in a social hole.
Yeah, he did better than Rome, though. He didn't have to be soaking wet for no reason and then run away from everybody like the 5 people trying to track him down.
I think he was smart. He was like, let me just... Because, I mean, the first 3 weeks is kind of... Like, you can find another idol. I mean, I say the first 3 weeks. The first 3 episodes of the show. Like, you can find another idol. Just try to make it as close to the merge as you possibly can.
Oh, yeah, I said 3 weeks too, didn't I? I mean, the next 3 tribal councils, which to us is 3 weeks, but to them it's like 6 days.
Right, yeah. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. And then we cut to Yellow, and Andy's saying to Heather, like, hey, if I'm the first person awake, let me, like, wake you up, and we'll go talk strategy. Hey, this is post-PD, and her name is Rachel, not Heather. Anyway, back to the show. And she was not having it. Her name was Heather, right?
I think so.
Am I getting that right?
I think so.
Yeah, which I thought that was smart by her.
Yeah.
She played that well. But then what was really funny is that Andy didn't wait.
It was not morning. It was the middle of the night.
Oh, that was incredible. And then she once again is like, hey, let's not do this.
I wonder, and what complicates it is like, because these people didn't see last season. I don't believe, right?
No. They saw D win, and then they saw like half of the last one.
Because it would have been interesting if it was like a strategy where he saw where Ben and Kenzie had that relationship where Ben was up all night with the anxiety attacks and then Kenzie and Ben went very far in the game, but he didn't even see that. So it's just like weird that that's happened 2 seasons in a row.
Yeah.
One,
and, like, the situation with Kenzie is totally different
too. Yeah.
Because she was willing to do it.
Yeah. I think Andy may have just like rubbed some people the wrong way.
What did he say to her when they were out there? Oh yeah, it was the coconut thing. That's what I was trying to remember. Is that John opened a coconut.
Yeah.
And then everyone cheered, yay for John. But Andy opens a coconut and nobody says anything. And this has like shattered him.
And what's bad though is like he did pick up on that like social cue. Because he was at the bottom of the tribe. They all were like, I don't know what's up with Andy. No one's wanting to work with Andy. Because even no spoiler to the end because we haven't got to the end of the episode, but the person who gets eliminated in their exit interview, they were even like, yeah, no, like he nailed it. He knew something was up. It's just out of context when he's like, no one cheered when I opened the coconut. It's unhinged.
It is. It's. You could think it.
Yeah.
It's totally valid for him to think it. You just can't say it.
No,
because
dude.
It makes you sound really whiny.
And just the way that he said it too, wild.
Yeah. And like Banu, Banu would have had a much better performance with that. He would have been like, you know what? I'm angry at God because no one cheers when I open the coconuts.
Yeah, dude, I know you're a big Banu defender, but I think Andy and Banu go hand in hand.
I just think Banu is so much better for the entertainment value. Maybe I just got too Banu-pilled because I drafted him.
Maybe.
And
Well,
I really bought in.
it was. I will give you this. Like, it is like with Banu, it was like I can't believe this was happening. With Andy, I feel genuinely upset for him because it just kind of seems like he's just having a giant panic attack.
Yeah.
So it's not funny, really. Banu was
Banu
hilarious.
Is a panic attack. Andy has them. Banu is them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to talk some more Andy. This is really the Andy episode because we're going to talk about the immunity challenge where things are falling apart for Yellow, and Andy decides to collapse. Maybe he didn't decide to. Maybe that's rude to say. He collapsed on the side.
Well, there's some debate, man, in the Survivor subreddit. Some people think that he was actually like he didn't actually pass out, like he just did that because stuff wasn't going his way. I'm of the belief of I think he was panicking and then the heat didn't help, and so he just like yeah.
So on those people on Reddit in the sports world, we would call those Twitter doctors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's like somebody's grabbing at their knee, and then some guy on Twitter is like, I know exactly what it is and how many weeks he's going to be out for.
That's a meniscus tear, dog.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think he was just very overwhelmed and having, like, an anxiety spiral.
Yeah.
Because he could barely breathe. But, this actually, it brings us to the Jeff quote of the week.
Oh. Do we have a little sound bite for that?
Yeah, I'll put it in post.
Go. Survivor's ready. Go. All right, here we go.
All right. So we're at that point in the challenge, and I was listening to On Fire with Jeff Probst. I'm like one of 12 people. He probably has a lot more than that. But Jeff said, so I checked in with Andy. And he said, I gave it everything I had, Jeff. So that told me he was okay. But this was going to be more emotional than anything else. So I call over Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe is dashing, and Dr. Joe is British. So he's a dashing British doctor. Emphasis on the British, because the British are not easily impressed. It's beautiful.
What was that in relation to?
Just calling the doctor over, I guess. The doctor said he was fine, and that's what the not easily impressed part meant.
Okay.
But Jeff he wanted to get over how handsome he thought Dr. Joe is.
Hey.
And apparently that him being British is a big deal. Emphasis on the British.
For sure, dude.
I love Jeff Probst.
I do too, man. I'm sad he's old. I hope, like, if I could pick one person to live forever, it would be Jeff Probst.
I've never thought about that question, but I don't have to. Jeff Probst.
It's Jeff Probst,
all
dude.
The way.
Because who's going to take over for Jeff? I feel bad for him.
Who knows? Yeah. Maybe it's Q. That'll be my pick for who takes over for Jeff.
Who is on Fire? Who's Jeff's co-host for this season?
Charlie.
Oh, okay.
So that's going to be pretty good. I think. I was hoping for Q, but...
Yeah, Q would be great.
Yeah, Q wouldn't provide much actual analysis, I don't think. He would just be entertaining to listen to.
100%.
So Yellow loses, and this is where things got really depressing, because you can tell it's either Andy or John.
Yeah.
Nobody wants John to go.
No.
But John starts scrambling, and he really, he closed the door on himself by throwing out somebody else's name that nobody else is into.
Yeah. That was one of those where it's like a lot of I've noticed, because you watch the old seasons of Survivor and then you watch the new seasons of Survivor, they're just playing way too hard. 9 times out of 10, the best play is to just chill.
I mean, maybe if John had just been like, hey, Andy was going crazy all day in that, in the middle of the night, maybe we should just get him out instead of me trying to make him my, project.
Yeah.
Dang it, he is Bono, isn't he? Because
Q
John was the Q in this,
Yeah, except in this version, Q got sent home first week. And Banu makes it.
Yeah, I wrote a song for Banu. I would never write a song for Andy. Just want to put that out there.
Hey, you say that now. We have only seen one episode. You might end up drafting Andy, dude.
Ugh, I hope not. That's the thing. Also, is that so John goes home. Everyone is deflated because he seemed really funny.
Yes.
And like he was gonna be a entertaining confessional player.
Yeah.
And he got voted out, and unfortunately, that means that if Yellow does not lose next week and Andy does not go home, one of us four will be forced to draft Andy.
Yeah, and knowing my luck, it will be me.
I hope you get first overall, and then we can conspire to stick you with him.
Because, man, dude, that's what's crazy, though, is Andy could win the whole season. Everyone's written him off because of his meltdown. He could win it all.
He could. It's not impossible, but if everybody's comparison is Banu, is that the guy you want to bet on?
Banu made it, what, 2-3 weeks last season?
I think he made it 3 or 4 because people were so sick of him. it had to have been 3 or 4 because people were saying like if he's on this season, like I might not watch.
He was a lot, man.
Like
that
he makes it to the merge.
That last episode where he was just cursing God.
It was incredible.
So
it'll never be matched.
John goes home.
And it was a glorious and perfect episode. Is that what he called it?
Yeah. And I think, knowing that John went home, I still think the most devastating thing that happened to him that episode was when he asked if anyone had listened to his podcast, and everyone was like, no. And what's really funny about that is like, usually there's at least one person that's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, I've listened, and lies. They were all just immediately like, no.
You know what? I feel like among the people watching too, because Survivor's a pretty broad audience. There's probably like not that many people who had any idea who he was.
Yeah.
I knew who he was because of a obscure debate that he moderated between Bernie Sanders and the My Pillow guy that I sent to you.
Yeah.
So I was a fan of John Lovett going into this just for that clip alone, and I was really sad to see him go first.
It was a rough, it was a really great first episode. I do want to say that. Was it the best first episode? No. And it was kind of a bummer that John ended up being the first one eliminated because he did seem like he was going to be a very entertaining player. But
maybe he'll come back for 50. Who knows?
I saw someone in the subreddit was watching this season of Survivor just for John.
Oh, no.
And so he goes, hey, is there any way, I don't know how Survivor works. Like, is there any way that he can come back?
Actually, there is. There was one season.
Yeah,
remember that? Yeah.
Were they called the Outcasts or the
Yes.
Redemption Team or something like that?
And they had to win the challenge, and they won it, and it was, let's do that again.
They might, if Boston Rob was playing, they might do that just to get Boston Rob back in the season.
Yeah. Or have people competing to get a chance to play and have Boston Rob be one of them, even though he didn't start out playing in this season.
That's
Just
not a bad idea.
On the bench.
That's not a bad idea. Like a Redemption Island kind of thing where someone starts not in the game and they have to try to make their way into the game.
But then we get like, that's Boston Rob's music. And then I don't know what his music would be, but
I don't know. What's Boston's theme song?
Sweet Caroline.
There you go. I think you nailed it.
All right. I think we nailed this podcast.
I do too, man. This was a ton of fun. I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about the season. I think the way that we're going to do this show is every week it's out of our draft, whoever's available to hop on. And I guess we'll mostly, once we draft, just kind of talk about how the draft is going.
Yeah, and like who's doing well for us. It'll be we can't guarantee who the cast is going to be for each week. It could be all 4 of us. It could be a random combination.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to find out. And I'm going to win this year.
Man, I really need a win. If I don't win this season, mentally, you guys might need to throw next season. I'm gonna become
so
Andy. I'm gonna be Andy. I'm gonna be on Instagram Live, and I'm gonna be like, well, when I drafted, nobody cheered for Q. Nobody wanted Q to win.
But enough about season 46.
It's all about season 47, baby. And I'm just very excited to have this platform to talk about Survivor, even if no one listens to this.
Yeah, I think we're aiming for 3 listeners. That's all we need. So if you're one of them, go leave a review.
Heck yeah, dude.
And if you could actually say 1 of 3, and then once you see there's 2 out of 3 fans, just make sure to include that in your review.
For sure. All right, but I think the way we should end this and how we should end it every week is based on just this episode, who do you think is the winner?
Oh, gosh. Man, if we were drafting today,
mm-hmm.
I would feel awful about it.
I would too.
Because I don't think we learned all that much. And because we didn't learn all that much, I'm going to go with a vibe pick.
Okay.
And this is kind of embarrassing because I can't remember his name, but the Asian guy.
Soul?
Soul, yes. I like his vibe.
Yeah, dude, I think that's a solid pick. I would gonna go with was it Asia? Is she the one that's on Rob Has a Podcast or whatever?
Which that was the Super Bowl to everybody who listens to or is part of Rob Has a Podcast. The fact that they got in, that's pretty serious.
That's huge, dude. I think, dude, I know she obviously knows a lot about Survivor, and she didn't play the best game this first episode, but I think she's smart, man. She could go a really, really long way.
So, and she's got a fan in Teeny out there who didn't want to blow her spot by being a Survivor nerd.
Exactly. So I think both of our picks are solid.
Yeah, and then let's go Gabe and Sue, too. Honorable mention. They're the duo that's going to run the game.
Yeah. Heck yeah, dude.
All right, this has been Making the Merge.
Yeah, we posting stuff on Instagram all the time, so check it out.
Yeah, let me end with a Jeff catchphrase. Sorry for you. That's the best possible one to end on.
Okay.
I'm taking your Flint. Sorry for you.
Sorry for you, man.